Tina Watson had been married for just 11 days when she died during a scuba diving trip on her honeymoon. It was October 2003, and she and her new husband, Gabe Watson, had flown from Alabama to Australia for what should have been the trip of a lifetime. Both were certified divers, although Tina was considered relatively inexperienced. On their 11th dive in the crystal-clear waters of the Great Barrier Reef, tragedy struck. According to Gabe, they were about 30 feet underwater when Tina panicked. He claimed he tried to help her but had to surface for help. When the diving crew responded, they found Tina lying motionless on the ocean floor. Efforts to resuscitate her failed, and she was pronounced dead. Gabe told police that Tina had signaled she was in distress. He claimed her mask had flooded and she was sinking, pulling him down with her. He said he tried to hold on to her but ultimately had to let go or risk drowning himself. Australian authorities initially ruled it an accident. However, Tina's parents were not convinced. They found it strange that Gabe had not immediately assisted her to the surface and were disturbed by inconsistencies in his story. Tina's father revealed that Gabe had asked for changes to Tina's life insurance policy just before their wedding. He had also requested that Tina increase her coverage and name him as the sole beneficiary. Australian police reopened the case and investigated further. They learned that Gabe had turned off Tina's dive computer, something that should have only been done after a dive was complete. He had also failed to assist her properly, despite having more diving experience. Witnesses from the dive boat gave statements that painted a different picture. Some said Gabe did not appear panicked or in distress when he surfaced. Others claimed he was calm and oddly detached for someone whose wife had just drowned. A fellow diver even said Gabe's behavior seemed staged, as if he had rehearsed it. In 2008, Gabe was charged with manslaughter in Australia. He voluntarily returned to face trial. The prosecution argued that Gabe had turned off Tina's air supply underwater, causing her to sink. With no defensive injuries and no signs of a struggle, proving intent was difficult. Gabe ultimately pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of negligent manslaughter and was sentenced to 12 months in prison. He served only 18 days before being deported back to the United States. Back in Alabama, authorities were not done. In 2010, Gabe was indicted for murder by a grand jury. Prosecutors argued that he had plotted to kill Tina for financial gain. They believed he had lured her into a vulnerable situation, knowing she lacked diving experience. The defense maintained that Tina's death was a tragic accident. However, the judge dismissed the case before trial, citing lack of evidence that Gabe had intentionally killed his wife. Without concrete proof, the U.S. court system could not proceed. The case never went to trial, and Gabe walked free. Tina's parents have continued to speak out, convinced that their daughter was murdered. They set up a memorial in her name and have campaigned for stricter laws concerning extradition and international justice. As of now, Gabe Watson has never been convicted of murder. He later remarried and maintains his innocence. The true nature of what happened that day on the reef remains a haunting mystery. Would you have trusted Gabe's version of events, or do you believe justice was never truly served?